On another subject, when are you guys going to delete the White House Twitter account?
Why would we do that?
Well, you're saying that you're keeping an eye on Twitter because it might not be a suitable platform, so why use it?
Look, I want to be very clear here. The president has always said, and he has been very clear in his belief that it is important of social media platforms to continue to take steps to reduce hate speech and misinformation. And will continue to say that. But media platforms make independent choices about their information that they present. And so, look, I don't have anything to share on any policy or any changes that we will be making. We have multiple platforms, as you know, that we utilize to communicate with the American people.
All right, guys, so I know we haven't talked about this in a long time, but it's still happening. We still have a border crisis. In fact, the border crisis is worse than it's ever been before in history, in the history of this country, as in October, there was a record number of border encounters, over 230,000. Which is an all-time high, right? We've never had this many people trying to cross the border and get into this country. Again, I think that effectively you can call this a border crisis. However, if you're watching MSNBC, they're saying that it's not. In fact, they're actually advising the Biden administration to come out and to tell the American people that there is no crisis at the border. Take a look.
First of all, we should stop using the kind of, actually, even some of the imagery that's being shown right now. It's like, you know, we should not be perpetuating a conversation about a crisis that is a human drama, but that this United States is not being overrun, flooded by uncontrollable situations on the border. That's not happening in terms of tens of thousands of people trying to get, no. So I would encourage the Biden administration, as I have been saying from the very beginning, what you have to do is you have to differentiate and you have to make clear that they are not going to perpetuate and fall into this rhetoric about there's a drama and a crisis of so many people coming. No, es que no es así. It's not that way. You know what's out of control, Paula, and I know you know this, Pao. What's out of control on the border is absolutely the militarization of the border. The dehumanization of people at the border.
Yeah, so again, if you're watching MSNBC, there is no border crisis, despite the fact that, again, we have a record number of people trying to get into this country, okay? No border crisis. The Biden administration needs to actually reframe the issue as a humanitarian crisis. Absolutely amazing stuff. Absolutely amazing spin. It's almost as amazing as this flat-out lie that Karine Jean-Pierre told when confronted by Peter Doocy on the fact that Joe Biden hasn't visited the border, and that Kevin McCarthy, the leader of the Republicans in the House, basically asked Biden to visit the border. And again, Karine Jean-Pierre's response was just a flat-out lie. Take a look.
Thank you, Karine. Kevin McCarthy says that he invited President Biden down to the border. How does the president RSVP? Well, we know the president's never been down to the border. The possible next speaker says that he wants him to go with him, so is he going to?
So look, he's been there. He's been to the border, and since he took office.
When did he go to the border?
Since he took office, the President Biden has been taking action to fix our immigration system and secure our border, and that's why on day one he put forward an immigration reform, a piece of legislation to deal with what is currently happening at the border. But you know that we're not seeing that from Republicans. We're not seeing a willingness to work with us on fixing a situation that's been around for decades now. Instead, they're doing political stunts. That's what they want to do. That's how they want to take care of the situation. But in the meantime, you know, the president has secured record levels of funding for the Department of Homeland Security. We have over 23,000 agents working to secure the border. We've taken thousands of smugglers off the streets, and we're cutting down on asylum processing times. And a number of individuals arriving unlawfully from northern Central America and Venezuela is coming down significantly because of the actions that the president has taken.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything she just said there was basically false. Okay. And it's just amazing how she won't get fact checked from the mainstream liberal media, right? You know, the people that love fact checking false statements, right? Or statements that don't fit the narrative, that is, right? Not actual false statements. She's not gonna get fact checked. Biden has not visited the border. Biden visited the border. Last time he visited the border was back in like 2008. So she just flat out lied, right? Just flat out lied about it. And she's getting ripped for this because obviously, you know, again, she's not going to be fact checked. She's not going to be held accountable. This is typically what you can get away with as an affirmative action hire, right? You can just do your job badly, which again, lying as a press secretary is doing your job badly, right? You can put the spin. The spin is to say, well, I'm not sure if Biden visiting the border actually solves the problem. That's the spin, right? The spin is not the lie, right? The spin is to say, hey, I'm not sure how much good visiting the border is. But hey, she's not even talented enough to even put the proper spin without lying. So again, she's getting ripped for this. Karine Jean-Pierre ripped for a categorically false claim Biden visited the border, caught in lies daily. White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was called out as a liar by Twitter users Wednesday after she claimed that President Biden has visited the border. Fox News reporter Peter Doocy brought up the subject during the White House press briefing, asking Jean-Pierre whether Biden would answer House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy's invitation to visit the southern border. Quote, "We know the president's never been to the border. The possible next speaker says he wants Biden to go with him. So is he going to?" Quote, "He's been there. He's been to the border. And since he took office," Jean-Pierre said. Despite Doocy asking when exactly Biden visited the border, Jean-Pierre ignored the question and instead moved on to attack Republicans for their unwillingness to work with the president. Several Twitter users quickly attacked the clip, pointing out that Biden has not visited the border at all since his presidential term began. Yeah, so again, he hasn't. National Review contributor Pradeep Shankar says, she got caught in lies daily. It's amazing. Categorically false. He has never stopped at the border in his entire career. Former California Senate candidate James Brantley tweeted, Karine Jean-Pierre fact check, Joe Biden has not been to the southern border. He opened since he has been president. Washington Examiner reporter Jerry DeLevy wrote, quote, "The only time Biden has conceivably been to the border was during a very brief 2008 drive-by when he landed at El Paso Airport and rode in a motorcade to the suburb of Las Cruces, with the route there hugging the U.S.-Mexican border for a few minutes." Daily Caller White House correspondent Diana Glebova remarked Jen Psaki told reporters that the last time Biden had been to the border was when he drove by in 2008. In October 2021, Doocy questioned Psaki on the same subject. At the time, Psaki referenced Biden's drive past the El Paso border in 2008 while he was campaigning for then presidential candidate Barack Obama. Psaki added, "But the most important thing everyone should know and understand is that the president has worked on these issues throughout his entire career and is well versed in every aspect of our immigration system, including the border. That includes when he was vice president." Jean-Pierre previously came under fire in August for claiming to Doocy that illegal immigrants were not walking across the border, despite many images and videos suggesting otherwise. Despite this, Jean-Pierre did not face any response from fact checkers and has barely faced any since she began serving as press secretary. Yeah, which again, that's why having a free speech Twitter is so important, right? It's for stuff like this, because the mainstream media, they are clearly just not going to fact check Democrats. Look, here's the thing. I don't have an issue with fact checking if it's actually going to be done on both sides and enforced equally. I don't have an issue with that, right? Because I do think it's important that people understand actual facts. But when the fact checking is just clearly just on the side of the Democrats never get fact checked on their false claims, right? They're never called out on it. But every time somebody on the right says something that's not even false, again, it's not even false, it's just against the narrative, they're fact checked, right? So it's not a fact check, it's actually a narrative check, right? That's what it is. So as long as Democrats are saying things that fit the narrative, they will never be narrative checked because, hey, it's just assumed that what they're saying is correct because by definition, they're Democrats and they are in charge of the narrative that the mainstream liberal media wants to put out there, that there is no border crisis, right? Like MSNBC said, there is no border crisis. That wasn't fact checked either, right? None of those things will ever be fact checked because again, the fact checkers are actually more concerned about the narrative than the facts. It's amazing how that works. And again, this is part of the reason why the left is so upset about what Elon Musk is doing to Twitter, because again, it breaks the narrative, right? It breaks the narrative, okay? And the Democrats are trying their best to hold on to that because they know that the facts are not on their side. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.